Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tablas Creek Wednesday Instagram live broadcast. I am, as always, Jason Haas. I am very much looking forward to talking to my guest this week. It is the great sommelier and wine director, Tonya Pitts, who you may know from One Market in San Francisco, but she does lots of other great stuff too. So I will be inviting her to join in just a couple of minutes, but as I usually do, while we're waiting for everyone to sign on, I wanted to share some pictures as to what's going on at the vineyard. The big thing for us is that we have started harvesting. It's always kind of a celebration. I love this photo that we did of the cellar crew with the first bin having just come in. But we've just picked a couple of things, not much. We've had a couple of whites come in so far. We've got a little bit of Roussanne in one barrel, just a cherry pick of some of the ripest stuff. We've got a little bit of Viognier. You can see our one tank of Viognier we've got so far for the Patelin de Tablas Blanc. It's just the beginning. It is not a year where we expect things to come just flying into the cellar. And the reason for that is that it has been really quite cool over the last 10 days or so. I'll show you a few pictures, give you a sense. So it's been foggy. It's really unusual to look like this. It's been foggy. It's topped out in the 70s. That's normal weather for April or May. It's not normal weather for August. A couple more shots. You can see that fog hanging over the vineyard. This was in the middle of the day. This was not like 10 in the morning. This was noon 2 days ago. One more shot of what that looks like. You can see grapes on the vine, looking almost ready, but still not. So anyway, we're expecting to slowly see a few whites, maybe beginning of next week. I don't think we're going to start to see reds until probably the week after. One of the things I thought would be fun to do would be to show you what some of the grapes that you don't get to see as often look like. So I show lots of pictures of Mourvèdre, Grenache, Syrah, Viognier, things like that. But I thought I took a walk around the vineyard yesterday to get a picture of what some of the ones maybe you don't get to see. So first, Muscardin. This is the newest of the Chateauneuf varieties that we have in the vineyard. We just got our first tiny crop off of it last year. This is what it looks like. You can see large berries, not super dark. It's got this cool kind of spiciness to it when you taste it. Next, different one. Choose different asset. Next, let's look at Bourboulon. So you can see the kind of yellowish tinge to the grapes. Super beautiful. Those are getting pretty sweet already. This is Picardin. This one is not very sweet yet, still quite sour. It's a fairly late ripening white, high acid. Going to be good, but still probably a month and a half off. Vaccarez. This is, again, not super imminent. You can see there's still some green berries here. Pretty dark in color, fairly large berries, but dark in color. We've got Clairette Blanche, large clusters. You can see the kind of oval berries that it has. Just a couple more. Terre Noire, definitely not dark in color, kind of a pale purple. It makes only barely red wines. I often talk about the Noir and Terre Noire as being aspirational more than descriptive. But it's a fairly late ripener, but it's not going to get a whole lot darker than this. And then, is that it? Oh, we got one more. Cinsault. So Cinsault is probably the best known of those that I took a picture of, but it's pretty new to us. We just got our first harvest here in 2019. So we are really excited about the way that things look. The vineyard looks amazing, and that's all we know at this point. Looks great. Probably not going to be a super fast start. Okay, I'm going to see if Tonya is on at this point. I don't see her yet. So I am going to do a quick, another quick run through some of the other things that we're seeing. So in the cellar, one of the highlights of what we are working on now, we got 3 new of these mini foudres. So these are 600-gallon French oak foudres that we brought in. We have 5 of them now, so this is going to bring us from 5 to 8. They're half the volume of the big 1,200-gallon foudres that we've had for 2 decades now. And they offer us these great opportunities, mostly for whites. So these are white fermentation vessels that we can also use for aging. We typically do Roussanne, Marsanne, Grenache Blanc, Picpoul in each of these, and they're great. We're happy to have 3 more. So you can see they just showed up a couple days ago. They're still in their original wrappings. We're going to get them installed in the next couple of days. What else do we have here that's worth sharing? It really, I'm going to do a couple more of those pictures of the vineyard in the fog, because it's not what you're used to seeing in this time of year. So it's something that we welcome. You don't worry about this sort of weather at this time of year. It's just a respite for the vines. They've been working pretty hard since they got hot in the beginning of July, and for them to get a little break now allows them to kind of slow down. We didn't have that break last year. It meant that the harvest proceeded without really any let up, and it's nice. It's nice to have the vines get that kind of deep breath before that last push. It does look like it's supposed to warm up later this week. And we'll take that too. So anyway, this feels like a pretty normal harvest season as harvest seasons go. I did a little bit of analysis when we got to Veraison, that we're looking at something historically like an average start to harvest, which is that last week of August. But it doesn't look like it's going to be pushing one of the earliest ones ever, the way that we've seen, and it looks like it'll probably stretch sometime into late October. Normal for us is like about a 8 or 9 week harvest. Last year was very unusual. It was like a 6 week harvest from beginning to end, and that was pretty intense. In terms of what the vines look like, the health of the vineyard looks great. The berries look smaller than normal. The clusters look slightly smaller than normal. So we seem to have the same number of clusters that we would normally expect, but it looks like it's going to be a little more intense. There's probably going to be a little bit lower juice to skin ratio than we've seen in recent years. And that tends to mean a little more intensity, tends to mean a little more structure. But we will see. In terms of what else is going on out here, we are getting ready to ramp up for the busy fall visiting season. The tasting room has been open and busy. We're tasting both inside and outside now. So when you can reserve an inside seat at our tasting bars or an outside seat at a private table. We've also put in some picnic tables, which we haven't been able to do for the last year and a half because we've been using all of our picnic spaces for outdoor tasting. Sorry, it looks like I'm getting an update here.
I called her. She's putting her headphones in. She's on her way.
Okay, great. So I just got an update that Tonya is on her way. Cool. Thanks, Ian. So if you are looking to come out here, we are building some things around the Paso Robles Harvest Festival, which is the 3rd weekend in October. We are doing an in-person pickup party on the 4th of October for our wine club members. It's going to be our first big in-person event in whatever since last February. We are still going to be doing a collection of virtual stuff. We will be doing a virtual pickup party for the people who can't make it or just aren't local. So count on that as well. And then beyond that, we're hoping that things will start to get pretty good, back to normal sooner than later. Okay, let me see if Tonya is on here yet. Okay, I don't see it quite yet. So what else is the news going on out here? So Paso Robles. If you aren't familiar with the Paso Robles Harvest Festival, that happens the third weekend of October. So it's fairly early. The first is a Friday, so this is the 15th, 16th, 17th of October. It is a chance for all of the wineries in Paso to kind of open their doors and show off whatever's going on during the harvest season. So it's obviously a little bit different during COVID. We're probably not going to see as many grape stomps and things like that. But I know we're going to be doing, celebrating the release of the 2019 Esprit de Tablas and Esprit de Tablas Blanc. And those are it's going to be happening in the tasting room. We'll have some library vintages to taste. We'll be doing some special retrospectives and discussions of what goes into those. And one of the fun things that we have in 2019 is that it was a vintage where we were able to bottle most of the varieties that go into the Esprit and the Esprit Blanc as varietal wines. So that is something that we're looking forward to showing off also. So if you want to try Roussanne and Grenache Blanc and Picpoul Blanc, and then try the Esprit Blanc, or the Mourvedre, Grenache, Syrah, Counoise, and then the Esprit Red. So it is always a fun thing to do. It's the kind of thing that we get a kick out of doing here at the winery. Okay. So I still don't see Tonya. There she is. Hi, Tonya. I'm going to invite you to join. And there we go. Sending. Okay, and now we wait for Instagram to do the connection. Hey, Tonya.
Oh, it is so bright. So bright. I'm in a bright spot.
You are glowing in the sun.
I am. I'm actually going to move myself here. I'm actually in our spot where we usually taste is where I am.
Cool.
Okay. There we go. That's better.
There we go. Now we can see you a little more.
All right. I had technical difficulties.
Well, thank you for persevering through them.
I
recognize
there we go. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Do things feel like they're sort of assuming a familiar pattern at this point, or is it still every week, every month is different?
We were getting into our groove, and now everyone has to readjust again and get back into their groove because of the vaccination cards and everyone needing those going into restaurants and into bars. And that was just instituted late last week, and I think everyone had the weekend, and now they're back for the week, and they're like, wait a minute, I gotta do what? Let me find that thing. I don't know what I did with it. You know, and, because everyone wants to keep it safe and not lose it. So you've got people that have taken, photos of it, and they're scrolling through their photos trying to find it. But, for the most part, everyone has been super responsive. If they don't have their card and they're not vaccinated, they're sitting outside. It's been super easy and super simple, but it's just another thing that we all have to get used to.
Yep.
Yeah.
We did the same thing last week. We made the decision that we were going to require proof of vaccination to taste inside in our tasting room
Yeah.
and sent that note out last, I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday, to everybody with
Mhm.
upcoming reservations. And again, like 95% of the responses were, "Oh, that's great, no problem, we'll be
Right.
ready." And there's a handful of other responses, and you deal with them as best you can, with as much empathy as you
Yeah.
can, and remind them that the outside space is beautiful too, and we'd love to
Yep.
have them there.
It's the same experience, but just outdoors in the elements where it all really happens. You know what I mean? For you,
Particularly here.
yeah. It's very much that way. And because the weather is warming up and changing here in the city,
Right.
because usually it's cool, right? But now we're starting to hit our groove and the weather is really beautiful. And so it's great to be outside and to have a meal, even in the evenings. So as of yesterday, it's officially more summer here than not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's always, isn't that usually true once you get to
Yeah.
like the fall? San Francisco is warmer in the fall than it is in the summer.
Well, it's hot usually for Thanksgiving. It's warm. You're in a light sweater or not, usually,
Right.
at around that time. That's our heat wave. That's our summer.
Okay. So I felt like I jumped in the middle. Can we start just by you talking about how did you get into wine? What was your path
Oh,
into
wow.
into wine?
It was not typical. I started out as a host in a restaurant when I was in high school, actually in college, first year at university. And that summer, I had friends that were older than myself, and they were working in a restaurant that summer. And they said, "You should come and apply. It'll be a lot of fun. You'll meet some interesting people, and learn something new." And so I did. And my my first thought when I walked in, I see this, you know, cherubim of champagne in a swing, and they're pouring champagne. I'm like, what's that? I want some of that. Oh, what's that? Everybody's really excited about that. And that was kind of the beginnings for me. But when we sat down and had family meal and everyone talked about what was in front of them and the wine and the glass and just sitting and absorbing all of that and starting to talk about what I was smelling because I was too young to drink. And there were those that were around me that were professionals that's what they did. I've been chefs and bartenders and wine directors, and they realized that I had a palate, and they nurtured that. Showed me how to carry a plate. When they would have dinner parties and barbecues where there was food, I was always invited, and that was really, really cool. And I was really interested in it, but I'd never thought of it as something for myself and to make a living from. There's all this time. I'm still in college and university in a pre-law program, decided my junior year I did want to be a lawyer anymore, and I wanted to go ahead and pursue the arts because I was spending so much time in the studio and painting late night. And I came to San Francisco for a long weekend and to just check it out. And my thought was, I'm going to apply to CCAC, the College of Arts and Crafts, which I did. But because I was not a resident, I couldn't go right away. So what did I do? I get a job in restaurants. My first job was at Zuni Cafe, and I was also working at Star's restaurant with Jeremiah Tower as well. And that was a time where chefs didn't share you at all, but I really liked both places, and they accommodated me, and they let me be at both restaurants. And that's really where everything just really came alive, and I just kind of soaked everything up and ate everything up and drank everything up and absorbed everything. But still, I didn't see it as something for myself because there weren't a lot of people of color. There weren't a lot of women either. Even though Sylvie Dar was running the program at Zuni then, and when I went to work for Loretta Keller at Bizu Restaurant, You know, Loretta looked at me one day and she's just like, you're not supposed to be a captain. You're supposed to be a sommelier, and that's what you're supposed to be doing. I need help. Here's the program. You can do it. And that's how that happened,
And
literally.
were there were there other mentors who were particularly influential or important to you as you
Oh,
were
yeah.
jumping into that role?
Oh, my God. Larry Stone, I love Larry, you know, and Larry is just fantastic. If I ever need anything, any advice, have a question about anything, I still call on him, you know, and lean on him. I saw him a month ago in Oregon, and he always laughs because I look at him and I always get nostalgic and I get teary, you know, because he's always been there for me. You know, Chris Blanchard as well has been a longtime friend, one of the first people I met when I moved to the city. And, you know, another person, Chrissy Defoe, you know, as well. But these are all people that I consider myself to have grown up with in this industry, although our paths, you know, have changed. You know, they're both no longer on the floor and they're doing different things, but I'm still on the floor because I really, you know, enjoy it. For me, it's always the light and the sparkle in someone's eye when they have that aha moment from their interaction with you, the story that you've told about the food and the wine. It's another way of painting a picture for me.
Yeah,
And I said that to someone many years ago, although I am ready to start painting again. So that's going to start happening
literally painting a
again.
picture.
Yeah, literally painting a picture. So,
So
you know,
I think I wonder. I know one of the things that I've always been really impressed with about you, and one of the reasons it's always so fun to taste with you, is that you take such obvious, visible delight in continuing to discover new things. And I wonder, like, do you feel like that's one of the things that has helped you stay fresh and stay on the floor for as long as you have been doing this?
you never stop learning. You know, we as human beings, especially within this industry, no matter what it is that you do, no matter whether you're an enologist, no matter if you're a winemaker, no matter if you're a sommelier, a wine director, a bartender, you constantly are learning. You never stop learning. You always have to keep yourself fresh. But there has to be this sense of wonder because that's what it is that we're in. It creates that. It really, really does. And even if it's something that you've tasted a million times, but when you come back to it and when you haven't had it in a long time, it's all of a sudden so fresh and so new, and it's a completely different experience,
Yeah.
you know. Um, it's funny. I was scrolling through stories this morning, and oh God, um, and uh, Yo Bates, he and Carla are in Italy right now, and he's like Tosca, and I was like, oh my God, I haven't had a Vitosca in forever, and I used to have one on by the glass, and I just thought, and I sent him a quick note, and I was like, this makes me so happy right now. I haven't had one in a really long time that looks so yummy. I'm on the hunt. I'm gonna go find one now. So, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
things like that, right? Living vicariously through someone else via your taste buds, you know, because you've had that variety before, but memory kicks in and you're like, oh yeah, here we go. Let's go ride that train and go on that trip. And so that's where my head is right now. I'm all like, okay, Vitosca.
I mean, that's the thing. I think, like, when people are starting to get into wine, they feel like it's impossibly large. Like, there's just so much out there they can't wrap their head around it. And then they get a little further in, and then maybe their like their world shrinks a little bit, and they focus on a handful of things they like. And then you get deeper in and realize, no, really, that enormously large world of wine, like that's an incredible resource. And the fact that whatever 90% of the shelf space in an American supermarket is dedicated to 6 grape varieties,
Right.
does not mean that that's all that there is that's out there in the world.
No, it's a journey, and it's a pretty fantastic one. And wine takes you places, whether you physically get on a plane, get on a boat, get on a train or not. You are somewhere else when you smell what's in your glass, or in your bowl, or in your coffee cup, however you like to enjoy your libations. You're immediately taken somewhere else. You know, it's a new experience. But that's why I say there's this sense of wonder. You never stop learning. And it's not to be intimidated at all, which is why I always tell people when they say, oh, you know, I'm not quite sure what I'm tasting. And your first thought is your correct thought, because it is your sensory memory. It's very unique to you and to your palate. And so there's not really a wrong answer at all, because it's really quite subliminal.
Yep.
You know, it's all what is in your memory bank of tastes and smells and sights sometimes too, because sometimes you can smell something or taste something and you're immediately taken back to a particular place. For me, when people say forest floor, I'm immediately taken to kind of the park once it starts to rain and the rain hits the soil. To me, that's forest floor. That's what I get. That's what I associate that with. And so that's what I see when I smell that.
Cool. Did you have a wine that was for you like an aha moment, like a wine that you remember that all of a sudden things clicked?
Yeah, it was 1976 Chateau Lafite, and still a really soft spot for me. I was very spoiled in that, because it was for my 21st birthday. But as I said, I was surrounded by these people who were really nurturing, and we had a really large French program. There was French, there was some Italian, some Australian, and California wines, and a big champagne program as well. And so I tend to go back to those wines. I have throughout my career, and I still do. There's a huge spot in my heart for all of those countries, but I also love, you know, Spain and Portugal, and Greece as well. But for me, it's always my mood. What do I feel like right now? And I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's a dry white wine, champagne, or bubbles. If I'm not having anything, no food or anything in front of me, it tends to be that. But if I have something in front of me, that's when I usually go to red wine and dry reds. I also am a huge fan of mature wines as well, wines that have some age. It tells a very distinct story, and it's as though you're tasting history and nature and within a time capsule. And so that's why I really like mature wines, whether it's a red wine or a white wine. They are really very ethereal and cerebral. They can be.
And that was one of the every year. Though I didn't do it this year. Maybe it's not too late. But every year I try to come up with a wine resolution, like something that a resolution I'm going to want to keep in that next year. Of some way I want to explore wine differently. And one of the ones from a couple of years ago was buy fewer wines, but more of the ones that I like enough that I want to watch them evolve. And so don't buy a bottle of something that I like and then figure, oh well, it's supposed to be, I'll age it for a decade and then I'll have one bottle. Buy 6 or buy 12 so that I can open them at different stages and watch the evolution of their lives. Because I agree, it like there's no better way to get kind of a to track the personality of a wine and a vineyard and a place than to watch that same wine at different stages in its life. The same way that you get to know, if you know people at different stages of their lives, it gives you this much fuller and richer picture of who they are.
That's why I have, and we have always been a really big proponent of having an old and mature section. And it's right up front, as soon as you open the wine list, and it tells a tale and a story. And those wines are always evolving. And they come from the older cellar of our owner, Michael Deller. And it's like, okay, what should we do now? Okay, well, what do you have from the 80s? What do you have from the 70s? What do you have from the 90s, mid 2000s? And it's everything. And it's just a lot of fun. But even when people are starting to collect, I tell them to buy at least 3 bottles. Even if they can't buy 6 bottles, buy 3 bottles. Enjoy that first bottle. And then several years in, at least 3 years in, minimum, check out the other one. And then hold on to that last bottle as long as you can, for another 5-7 years. And sometimes people say, well, how can you do it? I mean, wine doesn't last that long. Well, actually, it does. And you have the things that you drink that are fresh and ready to go that you want to enjoy. The one thing about being in COVID, I know that a lot of people dug into their cellars and pulled out those bottles that they've been holding on to and wanting to just savor for that right moment. And now every moment is the right moment, but you should still save at least 3 bottles.
Yep, I totally agree. We are very much on the same page in this. So you've talked and written about the importance of mentorship, particularly with respect to increasing diversity in the world of wine, increasing the visibility of people of color in the world of wine. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how you've implemented this? I know a lot of people look to you as a mentor.
Well, it's something that I've kind of always done. And quite frankly, with the turn of events, within the last, year and a half, 2 years, there was more of a push for that. And particularly when we went into hibernation with COVID, there really was a push. And, I got contacted by Wine Unify, Dylan Proctor, Mary Margaret, and Martin Reyes. And before they could even finish telling me exactly what it was, I was like, yes. Because I have, the restaurant has always had a mentorship program with the University of San Francisco, and the students have worked with Chef Mark. And depending who was in what program, they would come and work with me as well. And so I really just saw this as a way to touch more people. Instead of touching tables, I was touching people and bringing more people into the fold, which is what was needed. And then I've also got Badinage Forum, which I am the head of hospitality with the mentorship program for us with that. And it's just something that's been needed. And, Badinage Forum has been around for, 4 years now. And to think it started out as a one-day event to get women together from all walks of life within the industry, within the wine industry, and it's just morphed and exploded and blossomed into what it is now. And it's pretty spectacular. And those are just two organizations that are pushing the needle forward. There's Black Wine Professionals, which is geared towards Black wine professionals from all sectors, and Verizon Project, Roots Fund, just so many that are doing such good work. And we're all, a community helping each other to push the needle forward because it's needed,
Yep.
BIPOC, LGBTQ plus, all of it, because we're all here and we've all been here, but just kind of scattered, But that's one thing about the pandemic. It allowed all of us to connect with each other.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about just when we started that when you got your start, like you didn't see anybody who looked like you who was doing that job, and I think that's one of the most important pieces of these mentorship programs is that people can. It's always easier to envision yourself doing something when you see people who've grown into that role, who came from backgrounds like you did, or look like you do, or otherwise reflect the diversity of modern America, which for a lot of its history, wine really has not very well.
Well, wine and a lot of other industries, it's not just centric to wine, but because that is what we do, it's very much in the forefront for us. It's pretty wonderful. It really, really is. If you told me 30 plus years ago that this is what I was going to wind up doing, I'm going to be a lawyer. That's what my family and myself, I've wanted for myself for a very long time and pushed for and worked for. And to have my world completely turned upside down and my horizons broadened, I tell people I didn't choose wine, wine chose me. Because it was a fight. I was kind of kicking and screaming because I was a woman, because I was a Black woman and a woman of color, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, this is going to be a long road, and it's not going to necessarily be easy because of not having that support of others.
Right.
But I did have support, I had, other mentors, and that was great. And that's why I do what I do. It's very, very important.
Yep. So important. So great. Okay. So we're already almost at half an hour, which seems totally impossible. I could talk to you all day. A couple
Same.
questions though, just to wrap things up. One, is there anything what are you super excited about right now in the world of wine? Are there a couple of things that you would point people to that might be under their radar?
It's the whole rediscovery of the Loire Valley, and that was a region that I think a lot of us kind of cut our teeth on.
Yeah.
And there's this whole rediscovery that's happening. Anche du Mer, Chinon, Savonnier, Dry Sec. Just so much, Primat de Bourbon, all of it. And that's where I tell people to look right now. To look at the Loire Valley, it's more than just Sancerre. There's so much more than Sancerre. And it's exciting.
I love that the Loire also, you can get great examples from these appellations that are among the most historic in France for not that much money, for 20, 30
Anjou.
bucks retail. It's amazing.
Yeah, Anjou, super exciting. So that's where I'm at, but I'm kind of all over the place.
That's one of the things I love about eating at your restaurants is that Like, it's not easily categorizable. The things that you're excited about span the breadth of the world of wine, which like that comes through in the list that you put together.
Yeah. But also, I think on the food menu as well, because it's characterized as classic American, but depending upon the time of year that you're here, there could be a Japanese influence, French, Italian, Asian, Spanish, um, Basque, you know, but all meld up into one that definitely says fresh California sunshine.
And how American is that? Like that is as American as it gets.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
cool. One last question. So people who want to follow you or learn more about what you're working on, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way is to check me out on Instagram. My IG is Noir Sommelier, and that was not planned. I got on and, hey, you need to have a calling card. What's not taken? I love Syrah, the great, variety Syrah. And it's like, okay, well, can't use that, right? And so I came up with that, and it wasn't taken. And so it's stuck. And now it's Dame Tonya Pitts, because I'm also a member of the Dame d'Escoffier as well. And which is a real thing and a real title, people. It's an organization that celebrates women in food and wine from all sectors, whether you are a writer, a chef, a baker, a photographer, a winemaker, wine director, sommelier, all of it. And it's really very, very exciting. That's another piece and part that I'm excited about as well, the work that I'm starting to do with them as well. Yeah, a lot of outreach.
Super cool. So important, so worthwhile. Okay, thank you so much. So this is Tonya Pitts. For those of you who didn't hear my introduction, go and see her at One Market in San Francisco. Check her out on Instagram. Check out her website. Tonya, thank you so much for hanging out this afternoon. It was a pleasure. It's been too long since I've seen you.
And thank you. It's the same. I can't wait until we can sit and have a glass of wine together, right? Or as we do, the whole lineup.
Hopefully this fall. I should be coming up to San Francisco, I think sometime in October. So I'll make sure
Good.
I stop in then.
All right.
Okay.
We'll have some Picpoul Blanc.
It's a deal. It's a deal. Cool. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tonya, again. Thank you, everybody who joined us. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. So thanks again, Tonya.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Bye, Jason.
Bye, Tonya.